All right, Maddie. So go ahead and just kind of just tell me about yourself for those who don't know you.
Okay. I am a trainer at Quad City CrossFit. I grew up in sports my whole life, so I played every sport you can imagine growing up. I also help out with the CrossFit Teens and CrossFit Kids program here at QCCF. I like to be outside and do outdoor stuff. I hunt and fish with my dad, which is something that most people don't know. I have a dog. His name is Cooper. If someone doesn't know me, I don't know. I'm usually just kind of a happy-go-lucky person pretty much all the time. I like to help people, obviously, with the profession that I'm in. I try to give back more than I kind of get or receive, I guess, is something that I would say that I like to sort of do. Where I try not to look at myself and try to look at how I can help other people.
So CrossFit, what introduced you to CrossFit?
Okay, so my mom actually started CrossFitting before I did, because I was a senior in high school when she started. And then during basketball season, she's like, you have to try this, you have to try it. I'm like, no, whatever, I'm in basketball, I'm fine. And she's like, no, seriously, you would absolutely love it. So I tried it, and I was absolutely obsessed. I was like hooked from the minute I did it. And so I started my senior year of high school. We're at the end of basketball season, so like February, March of like 2010. So I've been doing it for 5 years now, 5.5 years.
Awesome.
So, yeah, and I actually, like, when I went to Mizzou for a year, they wouldn't let me do CrossFit there because they didn't want me to, like, get hurt or anything like that. So I just did, like, the softball programming or whatever, and then when I came back, I started doing more CrossFit stuff, and then, yeah, so.
Cool deal. So from when you got started, and then you started competing in all the various CrossFit games and whatnot. What's it been like to be competing at that high level, coming from where you were?
I've always wanted to be the best on the team, no matter what. So I will hurt myself in order to do that. But CrossFit's just another outlet, I think, for any person that's been competitive at all in their whole life, that it gives them that competitive outlet where they can compete in a class, but it's also like a big community style workout, which is so cool, especially just because, like I said, coming from sports, I can push as hard as I can and push as hard as I want and still get these like everyday results and PRs and all of that kind of stuff. So it's still like a goal-oriented and it's a very measurable sort of system where I can tell that I'm making gains and I'm making those progressions that I need to be the best that I can be, So, and then just at like the CrossFit Games and stuff like that, it's almost just like a surreal feeling. Like the first year we made it, it was like, oh my gosh, we're here with all of these like really big name people, and like we're just as good as they were, but we didn't have this like celebrity style name or whatever. So we like saw Rich Froning and we're like, oh my gosh, it's Rich Froning. And like, so the first year was just kind of like a very surreal, like, what are we doing here sort of thing. And then the next year we made it, it was like, okay, we're supposed to be here. We're just as good as everybody else is. So, stop being so starstruck. But it's hard when you're in a small community like this with all these big name celebrity CrossFitters, and you get to that stage and you're competing against them. It's pretty, it's a pretty cool feeling. So
it's really cool. Yeah, I've been doing this a short time. I started in February this year, and I was kind of the same way. I didn't really compete in sports when I was in high school, but I did martial arts. I did karate for a number of years, and for me, doing this, it really gave me a way to push myself almost in the same manner, but in a completely different way. It's totally reinvigorated my passion for fitness and for self-discipline. I can't tell you how much self-discipline I've had to give myself just from doing this. And you talked about helping people. I can't tell you how grateful I am to have the coaches that I've been around helping me. What's it like to have members that show that kind of gratitude?
Um, for me, it's not really about somebody that comes up and says like thank you because like that's just kind of reiterating. Like I would do it even if people didn't say thank you, But like it's more of like when people say thank you, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I did my job. I helped them. I did what I was supposed to do, But just because they, like I said, they don't have to say thank you for me to be like, oh my gosh, this is cool because I'm affecting their life. Whether it's just something that they're like, oh my gosh, I've never done this before, and like that's enough for me to be like, oh yes, like that's okay, that's good enough, So I love when people say thank you, but it's more of like this is why I do what I do, so I don't really need the thank yous,
Right.
to feel like I'm doing my job, like obviously it helps, and it's so great to hear like testimonials and stuff of how we've affected people's lives, and that like keeps us pushing and keeps us, doing our job and doing, helping everyday people. But yeah, it's kind of just more like people's expressions or seeing people's like confidence like change, like somebody that walks in, that they feel like they're, the odd person out or whatever, and then they like gradually get more confident, and you see them like welcoming new people, and you see them like just bringing people in, and it's just like that's enough to be like, oh my gosh, this is such a cool feeling. So I think just like, when I got hurt or whatever, just coming back to the gym was so like such a breath of fresh air to see like people like, people that I hadn't seen in, maybe 6 weeks that are like completely different than they were 6 weeks ago. And I'm like, like it's so, I don't know. It's just kind of I don't even know what word to use to describe that would be like, I don't know. I guess I'm just really thankful and grateful that I get to do what I love every day. And it's obviously affecting other people. So, It's about all you can do and want in life,
So, from what I've heard, you have a favorite Bible verse out of the book of Philippians. Yeah, talk about that.
Okay, so when I was, I think I was a freshman in college when I got my tattoo. I actually have the tattoo, Philippians 4:13. And it's, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And, some of these injuries and stuff like that, it's more of an attitude standpoint of, I can do anything that I want or anything that God wants because I have God on my side. And it goes with cross, and it goes with pushing yourself, and it goes with that attitude of, if I have God in my, if God's with me, who could be against me?
Right.
That's another Bible verse. But it just goes to show you that you can put anything you put your mind to it. If you think that God is calling you to do something, there's nothing that's going to stop you from doing that. And so I think it comes from like an attitude standpoint too, of being like, you know what, I have this because I have God on my side. And so that's kind of where I got it from, and I like the word strength just because, God is so powerful in my life that I've had a chance to, with being injured and stuff like that, kind of reignite my desires in my heart and stuff like that for God and for what He's calling me to do. And I feel like this is another thing that I do in my life, that when I'm affecting and helping people, it's not only like physically and mentally, but it's spiritually too. Your attitude says a lot about, yourself spiritually. So I never grew up in church or anything like that. And so I actually got baptized my freshman year of college. And this was kind of one of those things that is just a little reminder of, not to kind of give up, is another way of looking at that, so, yeah.
Awesome. That's really cool. So, earlier you mentioned your injury that you're recovering from. How's that been going, the recovery?
Good. It's going really well. So they said I'm ahead of schedule, which is awesome. But Tuvi Mendel is my doctor, and he works out here, and he's like, okay, I know it's getting better. He's like, but don't push it still, and I'm like, okay. But it's been the hardest thing mentally that I've ever had to face. And, I don't know if you know this or not, but I had wrist surgery 2 years ago.
Okay.
I tore a ligament in my wrist, and so I had 3 pins put in it, and the pins were in for 10 weeks, and then I had them taken out and, started doing CrossFit again and all that kind of stuff. But it took me out of the competition for a year to get back to where I was before surgery. So regionals this year, when I hurt my knee, was only about 7 or 8 months after I had fully recovered from my wrist surgery. So when I first did it, I was really, I would say really mad. And I think this has gotten me to the point where I'm at spiritually, but I was so mad at God I was just back. I mean, I was just back to where I wanted to be. I was PRing for the first time in 2 years, because it took me that long. I was out for a year, and it took me a year to get back, whatever. So I was just finally back, and I'm like, what? Like, I just broke my kneecap, so now I'm going to be out for another year at least to get back to where I was. And so my recovery is going really well now, but I think more of it right now is mentally not being afraid to try new things. And, like my PT's like, you're being so conservative. And I'm like, I'm scared I'm going to hurt myself again, I don't want to be scared to, live my life and do everyday things that I want to do, like exercise. It's healing up really well, but they don't really know when I'll be fully healed yet. So it's such a rare injury that they're like, you're young, so you'll heal faster, but you also want to do super extreme things again. So they're like, right. Like, where's that line of like...
Yeah. So right now there's no real telling if you'll be ready for next year or not? Or?
No. He doesn't see why not. He's like, but it's just all going to be as far as how PT's going, how your recovery's going, and just making sure that I don't have any slip-ups while it's still healing, So right now I'm just now being able to, like, walk and stuff without my crutches. But they want to make sure that I don't fall or hurt that knee. Because as soon as that knee is completely, the kneecap is healed, like, the calcium's kind of built over or whatever, then they're going to be concerned a little bit with like ACL, those ligaments and stuff like that are in there that I haven't been walking for 6 weeks. So making sure those muscles are strong enough before I just jump back in and do everything that I was doing before. So, but they're like, you're healing awesome. Like, your scar looks good, your swelling's going down. So they're really, really positive, and my PT's been like pushing me, which I think CrossFit obviously helps with that because she's been pushing me like hard. But so for me, it's trying to find that line of like, when does it hurt and when is it okay to like suck a little bit, you know? So yeah, it's been good because I can set goals in there too. So I'm like, okay, I got this far today. Okay, I'm gonna get this far tomorrow, and like, so. I think CrossFit helps with every aspect of your life because you set those goals and
right. And I will have to attribute CrossFit because before I got involved with all of this, I used to always have this bad, like periodically I get this bad sciatic pain, and in my low back and everything, and it would just take me out for 2 to 3 days. It would just be painful to walk sometimes. But ever since I started this, like I haven't had that at all. And I talked to my chiropractor, and she says it's because you've gotten stronger, your core has gotten stronger, that I don't have to worry about those problems anymore. And so for that's one reason why I love doing this now, is because I just feel stronger and I'm healing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the goal, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So last question. You actually answered the question I was going to ask you anyway.
Okay.
So I'll just go ahead and just ask you the last question here. Is that the whole goal of this project is portraying the everyday person, as larger than life, as opposed to all the talk we hear about celebrities and athletes and putting them on this high pedestal here. Then this is just my theory that it's actually the everyday person, the people that we interact with every day, that are the people that we should be holding in that higher regard. Do you agree with that, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I agree with that. I think any single person that walks into this gym, and every single person does inspire me, inspires you, you know, on a daily basis. You know, whether it's a mom that brings her kid into the gym and the kid is watching their mom. I mean, that's how cool is that to be? I mean, you're super mom, you're superwoman, you know, to that kid, you know, and then for me, as someone that doesn't have kids yet, I look at it and I'm like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, I want my kids to look at me someday and be like, oh my gosh, my mom is the strongest mom in the world. You know, like, just certain stuff like that is just so cool. And, you know, it's inspiring to me to see just everyday people like that. You know, someone like, I know I look up to my parents and I look up to my brother and I look up to all of these people that they're not doing anything crazy. I mean, they're just living their life and they're not doing it for any certain reason or for any certain gratification or affirmation or anything like that. They're just living, you know, and I look at them and I'm like, he's got an awesome job. He is so good at what he does. He just got a promotion. Or my parents are, you know, very athletic and stuff, but it's just the way that they go through life that inspires me. They have a good outlook on life. They're positive. You know, so every person that walks in here has something that, even just walking in here, it's scary, you know, for the first time ever. So somebody that walks in that weighs, you know, more than they think they should and are not comfortable with their body or whatever, and then they try it for the first time, and like, that's what inspires me, and that's what keeps me doing what I love. And my job is, if there was nobody to help, well, you know, I obviously wouldn't be here, but every single person that walks in, even if it's just their attitude of appreciating their body, you know, it's not about good looks and having a lot of money, which, you know, is that celebrity status or whatever, but it's just everyday people walking in here and being strong enough to say, you know what, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to do something about my life, and I'm going to step up and, you know, take control of, you know, things that you can control, you know, by just living a healthy lifestyle for, and maybe it's not even for them, maybe it's for somebody else that they want to play with their kids when they're older and they want to play with their grandkids and their great-grandkids maybe, or something like that. So yeah, I mean, the everyday person is extraordinary in their own way, you know. I mean, everybody has that person that looks up to them, or person that can inspire by even just walking in the door, or, you know, whatever. So yeah, I don't know, that's a tough question, because it's, I mean, you inspire people without even knowing that you do it, you know. So I don't know, I think it's a very true statement.